Paragon is a picturesque city on the Slovenian coast, just a hop, skip and a jump from Italy. For years, the city's Venetian charm drew tourists in droves. Artist Marko Jesernik opened a small gallery here a few years back. Business was good until this summer when the economic crisis hit home. Now customers are few and far between. Tourists are scarce even though it's high season. Marko Jesernik used to work as a marketing manager in the textile sector and says the causes of the crisis are clear.
For
a long time, the banks had money. However, instead of pumping it into new technologies or investments in the future, they invested in the booming real estate market. And they bought shares in companies that were anything but innovative.
Slovenia's biggest problem is its banks. For years they invested heavily in major building projects, but the boom has gone bust. The country's two biggest construction companies are bankrupt, and the third largest, Kranjski Zidar, filed for bankruptcy protection in August. In the Slovenian capital, Ljubljana, numerous major building sites lie abandoned. For truck driver Milan Mezgec, it's a huge disaster. He worked for Kranjski Zidar for 35 years. Recently, the company only paid him the minimum wage, €537 a month. But even that didn't help to save the firm. Now Mezgec is over 50 and out of work.
It's so sad, but what can we do? We'll see what happens. I've already lost my job. My wife goes to work for the last day tomorrow, and then it's off to the employment office. What more can I say?
Hundreds of his colleagues have also lost their jobs, and their prospects look bleak. Slovenia's jobless rate is rising fast in a land in which unemployment was virtually unheard of.
It's unbelievable. I might as well head for social services. What can I do at the employment office? Who will give us a job when one company after another is closing its doors? Where should we go?
Slovenia's other major problem is corruption. Construction firms could count on receiving contracts at home and inflated their prices accordingly. As a result, it costs 2 or 3 times as much to build a kilometre of highway in Slovenia as it does in Germany. But the state footed the bill. In a relatively small country like Slovenia, having good connections paid off.
Corruption was a big part of the problem and one of the big reasons of why the whole system failed. But again, this was not your general corruption with blue envelopes changing hands, but it was systemic corruption of conflict of interest, of political intermingling with the management, etc.
For a long time, the building boom subsidized the inflated costs. Everything was fine as long as the banks kept loaning money for new construction projects. But then the economic crisis hit Europe. Within 2 years, Slovenia's construction industry collapsed. And it's dragging down the banks with it, including Slovenia's largest bank, the Nova Ljubljanska Banka, which had to ask for a government bailout.
Just, plain misallocation of ordinary loans. Okay, so Slovenian corporate sector has lacks capital, so it's too dependent on bank financing, financing their investments and operating capital.
Then there's Slovenia's cumbersome bureaucracy and its political class, which has dragged its heels on making necessary reforms. Prominent journalist Tanja Staric has little faith in the politicians' ability to turn things around.
they're all the same politicians. They know each other, I don't know, 10 years ago. And I'm not sure that they will change now. They will be able to talk things through and make a consensus, which is necessary now for all the changes that are ahead of Slovenia.
Many Slovenians have lost confidence. And no wonder. The country's Conservative government is urgently seeking support for a reform package to boost the economy. The same reforms they derailed when they helped bring down the previous centre-left coalition a year ago. The politicians seem more interested in power than policy.
If things keep going like this, we'll end up like Greece. Thank goodness we have the EU and NATO to give us stability. If they break up, then I'll really worry. Then I'd leave Slovenia.
Marko Jesenik would never go that far. He believes that sooner or later Slovenia will find its own way out of this mess.
Times will get better again, but it won't happen overnight. It'll take a while.
And in this case, help really must begin at home.